Welcome back. Algebra Half, Lesson 69 is about absolute value, and then an extension of that, adding signed numbers. In Lesson 2, we talked about number lines, right? A number line you want to sketch neatly. I'm going to do, pretend I'm using a ruler here, but I'm just using my line on the computer, right? You want to make it pretty straight, almost perfect. And it helps to visualize orders of numbers, right? We always want to get the origin in there, usually somewhere in the middle, so that we can show negative numbers as well as positive. Try to make those intervals fairly evenly spaced apart so that we can accurately visualize what we're doing. Every positive number has an opposite negative number. In fact, sometimes we call that the opposite of 1, right, is negative 1. Those are also called the negative numbers. They're to the left of the 0. And we can see that, positive 2 is 2 units to the right of the origin. Negative 2 is 2 units or gaps, intervals, to the left of the origin. We must use a minus sign every time we talk about these. You don't have to use that plus sign every time you talk about positive. We just assume it's positive. It saves us a little bit of time. Now, when we're using these numbers, we call them signed numbers. Even though this one doesn't have a sign in front of it, we know it means positive. So, positive 1 or just 1, we'll call them signed numbers. And obviously negative has a sign, and those are signed numbers. They tell us whether on the left or the right of the origin, right? And then that number, that numeral, tells us how far. So the sign tells us left or right, and the numeral tells us how far, how many gaps from the origin. And we call that quality of a numeral that really just means a distance this way, or this way. We call that its absolute value. An absolute value just refers to the value from the origin. That doesn't change whether left or right. That's simply this part of the signed number. It does not indicate sign. It's just asking how far from 0. Absolute value is just how far from 0. Okay? So 2 vertical lines can be used to show that quality. You can show them like this, right? It can work for, let's say, a negative number. Absolute value is just the distance, how many intervals from 0. So in both negative and positive cases, we have a positive number. There are rules for adding signed numbers. Many textbooks will use zeros to help explain these rules. Positive numbers are represented by arrows that point to the right. Negative arrows will point to the left. To help us visualize something like plus 2 and minus 3, we begin at 0, okay? We draw plus 2 up, over, plus 2, and then to subtract 3, we go up again, up, 1, 2, 3, and then we measure, what am I at now? Negative 1. Good so far? All right, I'm going to get rid of some of this, and let's make our line again. If the book asks us use arrows in a number line to determine negative 2 algebraically added to negative 1, you'll draw a nice straight line for your number line, get your origin and arrows, and we'll make sure all the numbers mentioned are represented, as well as other numbers to give good reference. So we'll want to show the positives at least up to 2, and maybe even go back further because we've got all opposite numbers right now. All right, and then we show negative 2. So you start at the negative 2 here. And actually, no, I'm sorry. We start at the origin. That's the part that's probably going to get you because it just got me. Start at the origin, go up, and then back the first amount. -2. Show it next to the solid line. Then use dotted lines again to go up and move the next quantity. Whoop, but we're going left because it's a negative. See, this one almost got me. I was ready to jump and say, you know, this is easy. I don't even have to think. But even Mr. Otto had to think. And then that final answer is -3. Now, you could probably do -2 minus 1 in your head, but this helps to show it. And then it'll keep us from ever making the mistake. It proves you know how to do this kind of thing. What if it asked us... -2 plus 4. Okay, where do I start? Making our number line. Then origin. Start here, go up, and then left if it's negative, right if it's positive. And I'm going left because it was a -2. Label it -2. Okay, looks about right. Then we go up again, and then we go right if it's positive, which it is. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, I'm watching these as I go. +4. Where do I end up? I trace down with a dotted line, maybe even circle, that I'm at a +2. It'll probably say, right, determine the answer as well. So you have to make sure you write 2. Why don't you do 2 from the first section and 2 from the second section? 2 from A to D, 2 from E to G.